This is one of our more popular topics, and so I very much welcome all of you to our meeting tonight. One of the strides that we've made in the last year is our social media. So we do have an ISPI LinkedIn. We'd love for you to join us on LinkedIn. Stay apprised of the meetings. Stay apprised of any events that are coming on. One of the events we have planned, which is until December, but we plan to have a symposium, a one-day symposium on performance technology, instructional design, best practices, virtual meetings, some hands-on computer sessions, all sorts of good stuff we have planned, or in the works of planning at the moment, for December, so keep an eye on that, December 7th. I'm going to start off the meeting with just some basic information from ASTD's State of the Industry report, just to set the tone a little bit. And Training Magazine also has a State of the Industry report. And I'm just going to go through these numbers pretty fast. You have them in your handouts here. I just want to call attention to a few of the key points that I saw there. I have the reports here if you want to take a look at them. ASTD's is pretty substantial. They have a research company go through and do it with the companies that they have, and Training Magazine's industry report. Or just email me and I'll be glad to send you a soft copy of these reports as well. And after I just go through this, I'm going to turn it over to our illustrious panel here, three of whom I have to thank very much from coming down from Orange County and Los Angeles, fighting the traffic. So I, again, really appreciate you guys coming. All right. So I'm going to start off with some of the data from ASTD State of the Industry report. And they survey a number of companies, and they divide them into those that are they're award winners, who have to compete for that distinction. And they have the Fortune 500 companies, and then they have everybody else that's consolidated. I'm going to talk about consolidated mostly, but I'll point out a few of the things that the award winners do that are different. And then also the Training Magazine report. The amount spent on learning and development, do you want to take a guess if you haven't opened up your handout already? It's in the billions.
I cheated.
You cheated, I know. There we go. But this also includes salary costs, administrative costs, and non-salary delivery costs, which I assume is, hotel rooms and whatever else for all of that. But it all adds up to $1 billion industry in training. So that was one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention there. And how that is divided up internally and externally. Can you see that there? I know your handouts are black and white, which is hard to see, so you may want to just kind of make a little arrow there that the internal is $103 billion and the external that's outsourced is the smaller portion, that red portion there, the $68.5 billion. One of the key measures of training that ASTD helps promote is the amount spent per employee. And again, I can't surprise you with this number. It's already there on the handout. But this is the 2011 State of the Industry report, which is looking at numbers at 2010. So we are, a year and a half behind. But in 2010, it was 1,228, which was an increase over 2009. So more money is being spent per employee. That's one of the fundamental benchmarks used when talking about the training industry. Another benchmark is the learning hours per employee. And you'll notice at the top there I've got consolidated. As I said, I'm pointing out the consolidated data first. The learning hours used per employee in 2010 was 32 hours, which was the same as 2009, which is about, which is the same as 2009. But the cost went up, so organizations are paying more for each hour of training used in 2010. That was the consolidated. That was, you know, the companies that responded to ASTD's survey. But the companies that do the best practices that had to compete for that distinction, interestingly enough, they have a different amount that they spend per employee, significantly different. They jump up from 32 to 56 hours. So the best organizations, which ASTD defines as those that can demonstrate learning and performance, the link between learning and performance across the organization, if they can demonstrate that, they are one of the best organizations, and those organizations spend 56 hours per employee. The question then is, who gets trained? And again, your handout is hard to see, so just draw a little arrow there and then just go clockwise around it. That small little blue circle is executives. And then you go clockwise around there. So managers are red, non-managers exempt, and the biggest part, blue, are non-exempt employees. And non-exempt, I mean, I always have to think this through, are the ones that are entitled to overtime pay. So those are the ones where most of the training dollars were spent, as well as with the management training. Content areas in 2010. What's significant, I guess, is the first three. This totals up to 100%, but the first three categories are a third of it. And those first three categories, when you get your magnifying glass out and look at it, is indeed the manager and supervisory training is first. That's where most of the money was spent. Then secondly was profession or industry-specific training, and third was processes, procedures, and business practices. Your last training project, did it fall into one of those categories, supervisory training? Let me just kind of see a show of hands if that was industry-specific, supervisory training, processes, procedures. Yeah. A lot of mine did too. So the ones at the end are smaller, but those are intended for smaller audiences. And so, as the report explained, they were expected to be smaller. The ones at the end are like sales training, basic skills training. And so that's a smaller pool of people. And so it was not unexpected that those were lower percentages. Now, let's talk about delivery methods. What is the number one delivery method? Still, instructor-led still leads. In 2010, instructor-led still leads. It can be live. Online is that the 7% there in the middle. And then remote via satellite or video is how ASTD classified it. But live is a very big percentage there of 60-something%. So it continues to be the most widely used delivery method. So let's look at online. And I was a little surprised by this number. This was the hours used for self-paced training, which includes, online, all of our e-learning that we are developing, and that's just slightly more than 10%, close to 12%, at least in 2010. I think it's probably bigger than that now. The middle one is self-paced. Well, That's self-paced, online networked. You know, that's most of the e-learning that we're developing. The middle one is self-paced, non-networked, and they describe that as sticking a CD-ROM in your computer. And look at print. Print's still around as self-paced materials. They accounted for 5% there on the right. This was the year in 2010 that ASTD first measured mobile learning, and first time it was measured independently in 2010, and they look at, and I didn't quite understand this, so again, if you want to look at the report itself, you are welcome to do that. Available hours versus hours used. And versus available hours, more hours were used, which tells us that there is a growing use of mobile content. So mobile is indeed a field that is growing for performance support, learning, all those things that are cutting edge that we are starting to see come around. Okay, I'm going to switch from ASTD to Training Magazine. Training Magazine's State of the Industry report talks about budgets. And again, that 43% stayed the same. So from one year to the next, mostly the budget stayed the same. A good third of it increased, some decreased. So, you know, it's about the same from one year to the next there. They asked, based on their budget, what do you intend to purchase with your budget? What are you going to do with that money that you've got? And again, I just want to draw attention to, you know, those first few items on the list once you pull out your magnifying glass. The first one is the, you know, online learning tools and systems. So more online is coming. We've seen that since 2010. Authoring tools and systems is the next one. And classroom tools and systems. Since instructor-led is still a major delivery method, classroom tools and systems are there. And then after that is learning management systems. So those were the top 4. You can, you know, read the report and kind of see what else is there. But that's where most of the intent to purchase, the money and the budgets are going to go. For training outsourcing, it jumped quite a bit. Again, we're in Training Magazine now, so they do have numbers for 2011. Outsourcing for training in 2010 was just $257,000, and it jumped significantly in 2011 to $606,000, which they expect to stay the same for this year as well. So for all of us consultants out there, good news that outsourcing is growing.
So that means that we should all be making $606,000?
No.
At least.
I think I have some salary stuff here from coming up, but that would be nice.
Well, that's the average. What's the average?
Average expenditure in training outsourcing, I guess, from total budget, not the individual instructional designer, unfortunately. All right. Average expenditure for training outsourcing. Again, I am sorry that your black and white copies are difficult to read, but I just, let's see if, yeah, I just wanted to draw attention to the first one and the last one down there. The first one is instructor and facilitation. And what I circled is some outsourcing. So 47% for companies are outsourcing some of their facilitation and instructor-led training. And on the bottom there is custom content development. So not all of that is happening within a company. That big chunk, again, good news for us consultants out there. 43% of it is intended, some of that 43% is outsourced.